Later McKenzie had learned how to very paint the same way very travel on his ranch. Fast, quiet, no looking back. Folks in Carbon County getting the richest cowboy for a reason. He owned more land than most men could read in a day. And ran his life like a ledger book. Every dollar counted, every fence line checked, every feeling locked away. That Sunday afternoon, the church bells of Sweetwater were still falling vending when he stepped onto the dusty Main Street with his son. The Wyomings and Vernig and Guite, turning there into a you call almost us. Ledger's black vest sat sharp against his clean shirt. His hat was straight like everything else in his life. And Natty Donce to Reverend Patrick at the church door. The preacher nodded back. No long talk, no warm jokes. Ledger's mind was already on cat prices in the north pasture fence that needed mending before a snow came. These were problems a man could fix. These were problems that start in line if you start hard. Beside him, Weston walked with careful steps. 7 years old, small for his age, brown hair that could not stay flat no matter how much water layers smoothed into it. The boy la car good and horse and turned in his hand like it was a weary stone. Stay closer, Ledger said, not looking down. Yes, sir, Weston answered. Sweetwater was not a big town. 300 souls on a good Sunday. The buildings are along Main Street like the men, some painted, most weather gray. The livery smelled of iron manure. The blacksmith's a mere rang against iron, even on the Sabbath, steady as a heartbeat. Women in church dresses stood near the baker's shop, talking soft and quick. Ledger heard them like a hair wind. Background noise. They passed the McCoy General Store. Old Harold sat on the porch, whittling, his knife flashing in the sun. He lifted the bloody in greeting. Ledger touched his at brim and kept walking. Weston slowed, his head turning toward the farm of town where the boardwalk ended on dirt vegan. Ledger did not notice at first. His boots hit the road with purpose. He believed in charity when it was proper and neat. He gave to the church fund. He paid his ranch hands fair, but he did not believe in carrying the whole world on his back. The trading post at the ravage of his tutor. Men without steady work leaned against the wall, smoking and watching. They were not dangerous. Youth worn down. Life attacking what it wanted from them, and left the rest. A faint sound drifted through the air. A soft humming, broken like as on remembered wrong. Ledger heard it and dismissed it, the way a man dismisses far thunder. Not his storm, not his hope. Then Weston stopped. Ledger took 2 more steps before he felt the space beside it him go empty. A turned or a touching flashing. Weston. The boy stood planted in the dirt, staring toward the side of the trading post. His gooden horse unforgotten at his side. Come on, Ledger said. We have a work waiting. Weston did not move. Boy, Ledger warned, boy está eater now. Weston lifted his face and looked at him with a calm certainty only a chill could carry. His eyes did not bubble. His voice did not shake. Father, he said quietly, that's ma? The street seemed to go silent. Even the wind felt like it paused. Ledger's breast caught so hard it hit. His hands went still at his ears. What did you say? Weston pointed, a small finger steady. That's ma? Ledger followed the line of his son's hand and saw her. A woman sat on the ground by the corner of the trading post, her back against weather good, an old coat on her shoulders, too big for her from. Her hair was dark with streaks of gray that shone like silver threads in the sun. In her arms, sailed class all, lumpy and worn, stitched from scraps of other fabric. She rocked forward and back, humming the same broken tune. Ledger's throat went dry. His mind tried to reject what his eyes were seeing. The woman looked too thin, too tired, too far gone to belong to his life. His wife had been strong, warm, alive. His wife had been gone. Your mother is dead, Ledger said, harsh, like a cold cut the truth into place with his voice. You know that. Weston did not flinch. No, sir, he said. Ledger's yacht eaten. We searched the river. Weston stared at him like it was a grown one, and Ledger was a child. You stop searching, Weston said. Ledger's chest tightened at the words. He wanted to correct him, to say Adone Guarani Manguldo, to say the river gave no answers, to say there had been nobody, Only a sober coat on a branch under pressure gentle voice telling him sometimes the water did not heave them back. What Weston was still pointing, still certain. Layer forced his boots to move. One step, then another, his pulse hammered in his ears. Proved the woman as if he made banished if he walked too fast. She kept racking, kept humming. Up closer, Layer saw a sanguine scar running from her left temple to her cheekbone. His breast up. Magia that scar. He remembered it like a brand on his hair. She got it at 16, thrown from a spook horse near the fence line. Layer a vein there. Ea del hair hang while doctor stitched her skin. Ea told her she was going to be fine, even while his own hands shook. The woman's pale eyes lifted to his. She studied him slowly, like she was looking at something she almost knew could not name. Her gaze moved over his face with no fear, no welcome, only quiet patience. Do I know you? She asked. Her voice was rough, worn by weather and time. But the shape of it, the small rise at the end, hit Layer like a blow. Magie, he tried to speak. No sound came. His lungs felt too small. His chest felt too tight. Weston stepped closer, brave as any man. Ma, he said softly. It's me, Weston. The woman's eyes shifted to the boy. Something changed in her face. Small but real, like a candle catching flame. Her hands tightened around the closet. You're a good boy, she whispered. Weston swallowed. You said to tell me that every night. Layer finally found his voice, but it came out cracked. Magie, he said. The woman frowned slightly, like the name was a stone it was turning in her mind. Is that my name? She asked. Let her sneeze almost gave. He caught himself standing stiff, hands clenched into fists. Yes, he said, and it sounded like a prayer. That's your name. She looked down at the doll, then back up at him. I remember water, she whispered. Cold darkness. I remember holding something precious. I did not want to let go. Let her eyes burn. Sham rose in him, sick and heavy. He stopped looking because the grief felt cleaner than open. He had told himself it was the only way to survive. He had built his life around the empty space they left. And all these times she had been here, alive, lost, invisible. He took a small step closer, careful like it was a frightened animal that made both. I'm coming back, Layer said, the words shaking. Tomorrow morning, ella bring forth. We talk, we figure this out. She blinked at him like the promise was too big to hold. You don't have it though, she said, voice flat, not unkind. Layer shook his head once. Slow. Yes, he said. I do. Cool. Weston slipped his small hand into Ledger's, gripping tight like it was holding his father in place so he could not run from what was true. Ledger turned toward the road home, but his eyes stayed on Maggie until the last second. She had already started humming again, racking that like it was the only thing keeping her steady. And as Ledger walked away, one terrible thought followed him like a shadow. What if coming back tomorrow was already too late? Ledger did not sleep that night. He lay in the dark and listened to the house attacker by Craig like it was trying to speak to him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Maggie on the ground by the trading post, racking a class that like it was the last piece of her mind I could still hold. He had trained himself for years to accept her as gone. Now that she was alive, the old grief did not leave. It used giant shape. It became a charm. Before the sunrise, Ledger was already in the kitchen. The fire popped and snapped while he cooked potatoes, onions, and chopped beef, the way Maggie used to make when the day's well on work was heavy. He wrapped food in a clean cloth and ate it. He added a blanket, a canteen, and a small sack of apples. He did not know what he was doing, only that to keep moving or the meat fall apart. Weston appeared in the doorway, fully dressed, boots on, face serious. He did not ask if they were going. He only said, I'm coming. Ledger wanted to tell him to stay home. He wanted to protect him from more pain, but Weston had already done something Ledger could not on his own. The boy had stopped the word with one small sentence. Ledger simply nodded and lifted him onto the horse. They rode toward the sweater through the pale morning, the sky slowly changing from gray to blue. The land smelled of sage and cold dew. Weston leaned back against her chest, quiet but steady, like it was holding the whole plan together used by being there. When they reached the edge of town, Sweatwater was still walking up. Smoke rose from chimneys. Adolf Barton se anten went quiet. The trading post was closed, windows dark. Let her stomach nodded as they turned the corner. Maggie was in the same spot. She sat with her back against the good, coat wrapped around her like armor. The class light was pressed to her chest. She was a walk distinct. Her pale eyes tracking them as they approached. Her face had the same calm emptiness layer as in yesterday. But there was something else behind it, like a person standing in a doorway, and surely they saw come out. Layer dismounted slowly. His legs felt stiff, not from the reader, but from fear. He walked toward her with a bundle in his hands. Maggie watched him like she was studying a stranger who had come too close. You come back? She said. I told you it would, Layer answered. She blinked. Why? Layer lowered himself to the ground a few feet away. Say not to crowd her. Kneeling in the dirt felt like the only honest thing he could do. Because you soul not be out here, he said. Because you soul not be alone. Good. Maggie's fingers tightened around the doll. I must say to it. Weston stepped forward, slow and respectful, like he was approaching a skittish horse. He held out one apple. I brought you this, Ma said. Maggie stared at the apple. Then she took it with both hands like it was something fragile. Thank you, she whispered. Layer set the food down beside her. The smell rose between them, warm and familiar. Maggie's eyes softened just a little. She took a bite, too slowly, and her gaze went distant, as if task called for a memory loss. I know this, she said quietly. You made it, Layer told her. You said to make it for Wese. Her jaw worked harder as she chewed, her racking slowed. For a moment, her face looked less like a lost woman and more like someone trying to find her way back through fog. A door cracked between them. Carol, the shopkeeper's wife, stepped out of the trading post with her apron and her hair pinned back. She froze when she saw Layer kneeling in the dirt. Emery McKenzie, she said, voice careful. Layer looked up. Morning? Good. Carol's eyes moved to Maggie, then to Weston. Her hand went to her mouth like she was holding in words that wanted to spill. I've been bringing her food, Carol said quietly. Since last year, she never caused trouble. She used seeds. She used hams. Let her throat tighten. Thank you. Carol nodded once, almost sharp. Don't thank me like it fixes it. You take her somewhere warm. Layer nodded again, slower. That's why I'm here. Maggie's eyes flicked toward Carol, then away like the kindness in Bere's hair. Weston sat down in the dirt beside Maggie without asking permission. He did not touch her. He simply stuck closer. Do you remember me? He asked. Maggie stared at him for a long time. Her voice came out soft. I remembered your eyes. Weston swallowed hard. You said to kiss my forehead before bed. Maggie's hand trembled. She sick Hagwa, then stopped like the emotion scared her. Layer watched her and felt helpless. He had been good at fixing fences and balancing books. He had never learned how to fix what the river had done to her mind. Maggie, he said gently, we shall take you to the doctor. At the word doctor, Maggie's body went stiff. Her aching sped up again. No, she said fast. No questions. Layer kept his voice calm. Used to check, used to make sure you were healthy. Maggie's breathing turned shallow. Her eyes went far away and her fingers dug into the dark clothes. Water, she whispered. Cold water. Weston leaned closer. Look at me, Ma, he said. Look at me. Maggie's gaze snapped back to him, shaking. Weston held his wooden horse out, the same one he carried everywhere. This is Mine, he said. You got me a story about a horse like this. You said it was brave, even when it was scared. Maggie's eyes fixed on the toy. Something in her face shifted again, like a lock turning. It did, she whispered. It did, didn't they? Yes, Weston said. And I'm brave, too. Maggie let out a broken sound that almost became a laugh and almost became a sob. Her shoulders sagged. Layer took a careful breath. We'll do this slow, I promise. No crowd, no big talk, use you, me, Weston, and the doctor. Then home. Maggie looked down at the dirt. I don't know. Home. Let her voice crack. I do. Stood on allowed his hand, not grabbing, not pulling, used offering. Maggie stared at his hand like it belonged to a stranger. Then her eyes moved to Weston. Weston nodded. It's okay, he said. Maggie's fingers finally lifted and rested in Ledger's palm. Her hand was cold and rough. Ledger closed his fingers around it like it was afraid the word might steal her again. As Ledger helped her to her feet, a voice drifted from the boardwalk behind them. Well, ye be damned, a man said loud enough for everyone to hear. Looks like McKenzie found himself a street ghost. Another man laughed. Mavis Che started asking for money, too. Ledger turned slowly. Two men stood near the general store, watching like this was entertainment. Ledger recognized one of them, a rancher who had lost beasts to him more than once. The kind of man who had Ledger's money and loved gossip. Maggie flinched at the laughter. Her grip on Ledger's hand tightened. Ledger's face went hard. Says not a ghost, Ledger said. Says my wife. The men stared. One of them scoffed. Your wife died 3 years ago. Ledger stepped forward, voice low. You ever talk about her like that again? You ever learn how real says when he put you in the dirt? The air turned sharp. Even Carol went still. Weston stood beside Maggie like a guard. A small body strut, eyes locked onto Semenwisa looked tall for 7 years. The rancher lifted both hands, acting innocent. You talk, McKenzie. Ledger did not answer. He simply turned away and focused on Maggie. Can you read it? He asked. Maggie nodded once, unsure. Ledger lifted Weston onto his own horse fierce, then helped Maggie up, steadying her by the waist. Her body trembled, but she stayed on. The claws that was stacked against her chest like she could not let it go. They rode toward the doctor's office at the far end of Main Street. People stepped out of doorways, fast as curious, whispers starting like a small feet in dry grass. Reverend Patrick appeared near the church steps, eyes wide. When Ledger passed, the preacher murmured, "Thank God." Ledger did not know if it was thanks or warning. The doctor's office smelled of alcohol and herbs. Dr. Arlong was an older man with tired eyes who had delivered after Tom's babies and stitched up the other as mistakes. Esther when Ledger brought Maggie in. Ledger, the doctor said slowly. Who is this? Oh, Ledger swallowed. My wife. Maggie flinched at the word wife like it carried weight she could not hold. Dr. Aaron stepped closer, gentle. Mom, do you know your name? Maggie opened her mouth, then looked at Weston. Weston said softly, Maggie. Maggie repeated it like she was tasting it. Maggie. Dr. Arlan watched that exchange, then looked at Ledger with a question in his eyes that felt like a knife. He examined Maggie's whisker, checking bruises, scars, her pulse. He asked simple questions. Maggie answered some answer through others. When he finished, he pulled Ledger aside. She's alive? The doctor said. That's a miracle. But her mind has been hit. Trauma can do that. Cold water, head injury, starvation, fear. It can take years to heal, and she might never remember everything. Ledger felt his chest tighten. Can he take her home? Could. Dr. Harjan's eyes hardened. You should have taken her home a long time ago if you ask me. But yes, worms, food, safety, no shouting, no crowds, no pushing her for answers she can't give. Ledger nodded. You tai. He can do that. The doctor hesitated. Ledger, you need to understand something else. Once the word spreads, people will come. Curious folks, man folks, folks who want something from you. And if anyone claims she is defeat, they may try to put her somewhere she can't live. Let her stomach drop like an asylum. Dr. Arlong gave a grim nod. It happens. Ledger looked through the window at Maggie sitting on the bench with Weston beside her. Weston was telling her something, and Maggie was watching him like it was the only solid thing in the world. Ledger felt something settling him, heavy and clear. Nobody was taking her away again. He stepped outside, mounted up, and guided the horses onto the road back to the ranch. Maggie sat stiff in the saddle in front of him, and Weston rode close on the other side, watching her every breath. For the first minute, Maggie said nothing. Then, very softly, she spoke. He remembered a child by a window. She whispered. Sat on a floor, a quilt. Let her throat burn. That's our house, said. Maggie's hand trembled as I yelled out. What if he get there and he still don't remember you? Leia tightened his arm around her. Steady but gentle. Tenía you again, said. Maggie turned her head slightly large. She was trying to see his face without looking directly at it. Behind them, a sweatwater shrank into the distance. A head of valley opened wide, and in the far distance dark clouds were gathering over the hills, rolling toward them slow and heavy, like trouble that had been waiting its turn. The clouds rolled over the hills like a dark hair moving fast. Leia kept the horses at a steady pace, but his mind ran ahead. A cold filled the town behind him like ice on his back. Maggie sat stiff in the saddle, her hands tight around the clasdal. Weston rode closer, watching her like a cold kept her safe used by his tying near. When the ranch finally came into view, the sky was already dimming. The wind picked up and pushed us across the road. Maggie lifted her face toward the valley, and something in her eyes softened as if the land itself was speaking a language they almost understood. That's home, Leia said quietly. Maggie's throat moved when she swallowed. It feels familiar, they whispered, like a song I almost know. They rode into the yard. Ranch hands stopped their work and stared like they were seeing a spirit walk. Rick came out of the barn with his hat in his hands, his face open with shock. Boss, Rick said, voice low, let her jaw clenched. No talk, no crowd. He beheaded space. Reynard and Once waved their hands away. They scattered fast. Every man who feared nothing knew when a man's voice carried a warning. Maggie slid down from the horse with Ledger's help. Her legs trembled like she had forgotten how to stand on steady ground. Weston reached for her hand, and Maggie leaped without thinking, like the beat lived deeper than memory. The house too quiet. With the boards and porch rails familiar, to Leia in every line. To Maggie, it looked like a dream that had not decided if it was real. She stepped onto the porch and stopped in the doorway, staring into the front room. There smelled like good smoke and soap and old life. "I remember this light," she said softly. Leia stood behind her, careful not to push, not to crowd her. "You can take as long as you need." Maggie walked inside slowly, her eyes moved from the fireplace to the chair by the window. Her breast caught when she saw the quick folded on the back of the sofa. "It mattered that," she whispered more to herself than anyone. Weston's voice came out small and hopeful. "You did?" Maggie reached out and touched the quilt like it made disappear if she pressed too hard. Her fingers shook. The dog was still tucked under her arm. El tight. That night, the storm hit hard. Rain slapped the roof. Wind shoved against the windows. Thunder cracked close and knocked to rattle the plates in the cupboard. Maggie sat in the chair by the window, rocking without meaning to. The summer forward and back motion that had carried her through years she could not explain. Leia built up the fire, keeping the room warm. It watched Maggie like it was afraid to blink. Weston sat on the floor near her, carving his wooden horse, keeping the room steady with the sound of his small knife. When the thunder hit again, Maggie flinched so hard that nearly slipped from her arms. Her eyes went wide and her breathing turned fast. "Water?" she whispered. "Cold." Weston stood up and moved closer. "Look at me," he said, calm and firm. "You are here. You are inside. You are safe." Maggie's eyes found his face. Her rocking slow. Her shoulders dropped like she had been holding a weight too long. Leia took a slow breath. "The river is not here," he said gently. "Only rain." Maggie stared at him. For a moment, her eyes looked clearer than the other day. "You don't want to forget again," she said. "You want to be alone," Leia answered. "Not ever." The next morning, the storm had passed, but the trouble had not. Before noon, a wagon rolled into the yard. Two men climbed down, stiff-backed and serious. One was Sheriff Collins from Sweetwater. The other was Amor Bradley, a county man who wore clean boots and carried papers like a weapon. Leia met them on the porch with Ravenim and Weston standing closer by the door. Sheriff Collins lifted his hat. Leia did not offer a handshake. "What is this?" "What?" Amor Bradley cleared his throat and the lab papers. "We've consent reported. A woman with a damaged mind has been brought to this ranch. Some folks say she is not safe. Some say she is not who you claim. They fear she may wander, get hit others." Leia felt a rise in his chest. She as harm no ubedi. Bradley's mouse ta eaten. The county as options. A proper place. A facility where she can be watched. Veston's face went pale. A step forward. You are not taking her. Oh. Bradley looked down at the boy like, it was an insect that has spoken. This is grown business. Let her's voice turn cold. You will speak to my son with respect or you will leave. Sheriff Collins shifted uncomfortable. Later, folks are talking. That's all. People fear what they don't understand. Layer leaned forward slightly. Then they can learn. Bradley tapped the papers. We need proof she is your wife. Let her jaw clench so hard his teeth touch. Proof, he repeated. Maggie stepped into the door waving them. Say a washed and chant, I said, dressed simply and clean. Still, her eyes were weary. She held the class eye closer like it anchored her. Sheriff Collins saw her and went quiet. M.R. Bradley's gas sharpened. Ma'am, do you know who you are? Maggie hesitated. Her fingers tightened on the dial. Weston moved to her side. That's my mother, he said. She saw me before. I sabe her now. Bradley ignored him. Your name? Maggie's lips parted. She looked at Leyer as if searching his face for the answer. Leyer spoke carefully. Steady. Your name is Maggie McKenzie. Maggie repeated it slowly. Maggie? Bradley nodded like I caught her in a lie. Josie. Sion repeats. Leyer took one step forward. Raken through Vairon. She survived the river that soul have killed her. She survived hunger and cold. She survived the world forgetting her. Don't understand here and careless the causes she has scars you can't see. Bradley's face renewed. If she wanders into town again, the county will take action. Maggie's body went stiff. The words hit her like a whip. Her breathing sped up again, panic rising. Leyer turned toward her at once. Maggie, look at me. You are home. Maggie's eyes flicked to the yard, to the wagon, to the sheriff. Her hands trembled. They want to take me, she whispered. Weston grabbed her hand. They can't. Sheriff Collins cleared his throat and stepped toward Bradley. M.R. Bradley, even seen the woman in town. She never had a soul. Folks fed her because she was harmless. You want to haul her away now that she's clean and sitting in a warm house? That does not sit right with me. Bradley glared. It's procedure. Sheriff Collins shook his head. It's fair, and I'm not here to help fair win. Leyer stared at the sheriff. Surprise. Collins lifted his chin toward Maggie. Ma'am, can you tell me something? Only the real Maggie McKenzie would know. Maggie blinked at him, confused. Let her heart pounded. He did not know what would come out of her mouth. He did not know if she would freeze and go blank. He did not know if today was the day the world took her again. Maggie's gaze drifted past them toward the barn. A black stallion stepped out into the sunlight, ears forward, watching. It walked straight to the porch like he had done it 1,000 times. Maggie's face changed. Not fear, not confusion. Something warmer. Her hand lifted without thought, fingers reaching. Cool, Side whispered. Leyer felt his chest break open. The stallion pressed his nose into her palm and stood still, calm as a prayer. Maggie's eyes filled with tears. Eu said to steal apples, Sai said softly. A ghoul knocked the pantry door with his head when he wasn't watching. Leyer blamed the mise. Ray let out a sound that was off la fan of sock. That's true. Leyer swallowed hard. It's true. Maggie's voice grew steady like the memory pulled her up onto Sally groaned. And the scar, she said, touching her temple. He fell off a horse. He cried like a baby. Leyer pretended he wasn't scared, but his hands shook when el mine. Leyer could not breathe for a second. Sheriff Collins turned his head toward Bradley. That sound like a stranger told you? Bradley's lips pressed tight. His eyes flicked to let her hard face to rise a witness to the stallion standing like a guard. Bradley folded his papers with stiff hands. Fine, he says sharply. Keep her, but if there is trouble, it will come back on you. Leyer stepped down of the porch close and know that Bradley could see the promise in his eyes. If there is trouble, Leyer said quietly, it will come from men like you. Bradley climbed into the wagon without another word. Sheriff Collins lingered a moment on her. He looked at Maggie with something like regret. Es what her soul have done better by you. he said. Maggie stared him, then nodded once. Not angry, not forgiving, just accepting. When the wagon rolled away, the yard went quiet again. Gwyn moved through the grass. Cole snorted softly and turned his head toward Maggie like it was waiting for her next word. Leyer looked at Maggie. Are you all right? Maggie's shoulders shook once, then steadied. I'm here, she said. I'm still here. That afternoon, Leyer did something he had not done in 3 years. He rode into a sweater with Maggie beside him and Weston between them. Not to hide her, not to keep her out of sight. He rode into town to show the world that the woman on the corner was no longer invisible. People stepped out of doorways. Carol pressed a hand to her mouth, tears in her eyes. Reverend Patrick stood on the church steps, eyes shining. Maggie looked around like the town was a room full of strangers I had once known. Some faces opened, some turned away. Maggie did not beg. She did not lower her eyes. Weston kept his small hand in hers, and Leyer kept his arm steady at her back at the trading post corner. Maggie stopped. She stared at the dirt where she had racked and hammed through on empty days. He thought this was aliad. She whispered. Let her voice come low. I'm sorry I left you here. Maggie looked up at him. Her eyes were clear in a way they had not been when a fear saw her. You didn't know, she said, and the words carried a way that surprised him. But you don't know. So now you will choose different. Leyer nodded once. Every day. Maggie's fingers tightened around the glass doll. She looked at it like it was both comfort and pain. Then she took a slow breath and held it out to Weston. Weston blinked. For me? Maggie nodded. He held it when he could not remember your face. He don't want it to be mine and sure anymore. He want you to keep it so he remember it come back. Weston took it carefully like it was made of glass. It will. I promised. Maggie turned to Leyer. Let's go home. Wood. When they rode out of his water, the sun was dropping toward the hills, panting the valley gold. Maggie sat again in the saddle. Weston rode closer, holding the doll against his chest like a treasure. Leyer glanced down at his son. You saw her. Weston shook his head. No, sir. You made you stop. Leyer swallowed hard. The road stretched ahead, familiar beneath of beds. The ranch came into view in the distance, the house standing like a promise that a finally vain kept. Leyer reached for Maggie's hand in the saddle. She let him take it. Her fingers were still rough, still scarred by years the word had stolen, but they were warm. And for the first time in a long time, Leyer McKenzie felt something he had once been too afraid to hold.